Hi guys, good to chat with you again. So today what we're going to do is we're going to finish up a couple notes that we didn't get done yesterday in class. And then I'm going to have you use your notes from yesterday's class along with the stuff we take today to complete the practice problem. So it's just continued practice from what we worked on yesterday along with what we do today. And then you'll just submit your completed packet here to Schoology when you're finished. All right, you got this, guys. Let's do it. All right, so this problem, some of you completed, I think most of you completed this yesterday. And so you could even check your notes from yesterday to make sure that you did it correctly. But I just want to go through and do it with you one more time and just make sure that you understand how to do it. You're going to have two problems very similar to this in your practice work today. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing is whenever we're finding circumference, we want to write down that formula, right? We're finding circumference. So our formula for circumference is C equals pi times diameter. All right, but this is a half circle, right? It's not a full circle. If it was a full circle, it would look like that. And it's not a full circle, so we have to divide it by 2 because it's half of a circle. So we divide it by 2, but then it has this line on it, right? A full regular circle doesn't have this bottom line, but this half circle, this semicircle, does have that line, and that line is our diameter. So in our formula, we're going to add our diameter back in at the end. All right, so let's plug in the numbers that we know and then just go ahead and calculate. So we don't know circumference, but we do know pi. Pi is 3.14. And we know diameter. So I'm putting my diameter of 2.6. I put it into parentheses to show that I'm multiplying, right? It's 3.14 times 2.6. All right, and then our formula tells us that we're going to divide that in half, divide it by 2, because it's a half circle, and we have to add that diameter back in because that's what closes the circle. So plus 2.6. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just go ahead and calculate. And if you have one of those calculators, handheld calculators like we use in class, then you can just type all of this into your calculator and your calculator will do PEMDAS for you. But I'm just going to go through with you really quick and calculate it out. So 3.14 times 2.6, 3.14, typing into my calculator, times 2.6. is 8.164. So 8.164. And now we have to divide by 2 and then add 2.6. So 8.164 divided by 2 is 4.082. So 4.082 and then plus 2.6. So plus 2.6, and that equals, so circumference equals 6.68, oops, that's an 82 centimeters. All right, and that would be our answer. So if that's the answer you got when you solved yesterday in class, then you are right on. And if that's not quite the answer you got, then just go ahead and pause the video, maybe rewind, listen to the explanation again so that you understand how to do it. Okay, and you could even do that when you get a couple problems like this today in your work. So now these are the two problems that we did not get to in our notes packet today. So let's take a look at these together, and I just included these two slides into this packet for today, so you don't have to go back to your other note packet yet. All right, so we're going to use circumference to find the radius or the diameter. So this is working backwards, and I'm thinking once we do one of these, you'll remember doing this when we practice this before spring break. So I wrote out a couple steps for you here. Number 1 is write out the formula for circumference of a circle. All right, well, we know that formula. Circumference equals pi times diameter. All right, so step 1 is done. Now, step 2, fill in the numbers you know in place of the variables. Well, we know that circumference is 7.222. So instead of C, I'm going to put 7.222 equals, and I know pi is 3.14, and diameter is what I do not know. So I'm just putting my D there. All right. Now, when we solved these last week or prior to spring break, we talked about how this is just a one-step equation. And so in order to solve a one-step equation, we are trying to get D all by itself, get our variable isolated. So in order to do that, we have 3.14 times diameter. So we're doing the opposite. Since it's multiplying times diameter, we do the opposite, which is divide. So 3.14 divided by 3.14 is going to cancel out, right? 3.14 divided by 3.14 is 1. So it leaves us with just D. All right, and then let's remember when we solve equations, whatever we do to one side of our equation, we always do to the other side of our equation. So since we divided the right side by 3.14, we have to divide the left side by 3.14. All right, so on my calculator right now, I'm typing in 7.222. See if you can beat me to the correct answer. Divided by 3.14, and your answer is 2.3. All right, so that means diameter is 2.3. So how do we find the radius? Well, remember, diameter is the long one. It's the one that goes all the way through the circle. So if I divide 2.3 divided by 2, then I'll figure out the radius. So on my calculator, 2.3 divided by 2 is going to give me 1.15. So 1.15 is my radius. All right. Good job, guys. If that was a little tricky or I moved too fast, please just pause the video and listen to that description and get that work written down. All right, so let's try one more. So I'm going to challenge you. Try to set it up by yourself. See if you can do that. If you're still super confused, that's okay. Then just follow along as I explain. All right, so step number 1, write out the formula for circumference of a circle. Okay, C equals pi times diameter. Done. Fill in the numbers that you know in place of the variables. All right, well, my circumference is 10.99. So 10.99 goes in for C for circumference. Pi is 3.14, and diameter is what we don't know. So we can just put down the D. All right, so 3.14 is multiplying times D times the diameter, and our job is to isolate D. All right, so I'm going to draw my line to show me two sides of my equation. You don't have to do that step, but if it's helpful for you to see the two sides, then that's always helpful. All right, so if 3.14 is multiplying times D, we have to do the opposite operation. So we're going to divide. Sorry, I have the Cubs game on. I got to pause that. So we're going to divide by 3.14 on both sides. Excuse me. And why do I divide by 3.14 on both sides? Because whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. All right, so let's do the right side first. 3.14D divided by 3.14, well, these will cancel each other out, so we're just left with our variable of D. And on my left side, I have 10.99 divided by 3.14, so I get to 3.5. All right, so my diameter is 3.5, so how do I find my radius? Well, in order to find my radius, I just divide my diameter in half. So 3.5 divided by 2 is going to equal 1.75. So my radius is 1.75. All right, guys, good job. I know those are tricky, but the more we practice, the easier it will get. Okay, guys, so these last 3 pages, really 2.5 pages, are your homework problems. Okay, so use these notes that we just took today along with your notes from yesterday. So you might need to split screen a little bit so you can pull up that information from yesterday to help you solve these problems. Okay, everything in these homework problems is exactly like the practice problems that we did together in class yesterday and then finished up today on our video. Once you're finished, the very last page has the directions for you of making sure you complete everything and um, and submitting your completed work, and it tells you the name of the assignment that you're looking for to submit it to as well. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. 3 pages, sorry, 2.5 pages really.